In this episode of Voice of the Sea, we're in American Samoa, talking about the coastline and nearshore waters. We'll visit a living shoreline project designed to protect a park from coastal erosion, and 3 villages participating in community-based fisheries management programs designed to enhance their nearshore ecosystems and improve fisheries at the village level. We'll talk to Samoans working to bring back abundance and health in the ocean and on land. We hear from a Paramount chief about changes to Pongo Pongo Harbor and traditional fishing practices. We start off talking with University of Hawaii Sea Grant Extension Agent and American Samoa Community College instructor Kelly Anderson Tagarino at Lionʻs Park, which is the site of a new living shoreline project.
We're in the area of Tafuna, and this is a local Department of Parks and Rec park, and it's the last park that doesn't have a seawall in the territory. So we really wanted to keep it that way, which was the reason why we did our living shoreline project here. And we got the territory's first nationwide living shoreline permit.
Tell me about this living shoreline project. Yeah. Or maybe just what is a living shoreline?
Yeah, so in general, a living shoreline is anything that you have that is living along the shoreline that can help protect it from erosion. And the nice thing about living shorelines is instead of having a concrete wall that basically removes your whole intertidal zone, you get to keep the biologic integrity of that intertidal area. So that means you can still harvest your snails, your clams, your oysters. You don't lose the food from that area, and you don't lose the ecosystems in that area. My hope is now that we've done one, it'll clear the way to do more. And the coastal engineer who is doing the design work for this, Rob Walker and his team, they're also engaged with our Department of Parks as well as Department of Commerce to add more living shorelines to more parks in other areas that they want to try and prevent seawalling if we can.
Well, it's a really beautiful park. There's grassy areas, there's fale, there's really beautiful public restrooms. I imagine it gets a lot of use by the community.
Yeah, we do. And this section along here is heavily used for fales and just recreation. And then there's more formal recreation courts like tennis courts, volleyball courts, pickleball courts. And then down at the end, there's also the community's only swimming pool for sort of open to the public other than those at hotels. And so it's a really important area to try and maintain. And this is what Parks and Recs asked for, was to try and reclaim some of the land that they've seen lost. They've seen 20 to 30 feet of shoreline eroded over their tenure. And so they really wanted to do what they can to try and preserve this for our future.
And are all living shorelines artificial or man-made, or can a living shoreline be natural too?
Absolutely can be natural, and it can just be augmented through plantings. And the living shoreline term kind of encompasses the whole spectrum of what is called green-gray hybrids, meaning green is the biological living stuff and then gray being the man-made stuff. So sometimes there might be a concrete footer at the bottom or some kind of sill at the bottom that you've designed and then put rocks and plantings on top of it. Or some people use concrete bases to grow oysters on top of. That's something that's done commonly on the west coast of Florida where I'm from. So here we also have oysters, and we're hoping to see them recruit when we do put in the living shoreline with additional rocks here and some mangrove islands that we'll build out there to help reduce the wave erosion on the shoreline. Our water quality within the Pala Lagoon is not fabulous, and so our hope is that those oysters can help clean the water in addition to strengthening the rocks that'll be put out.
Talk to me about the importance of mangroves here and mangroves islands.
Mangroves are native here. We have 3 species, and they do really well in the Pala Lagoon. As you can see, there's quite a lot on the backside over there and this side, and then in these mangrove islands here as well. The importance of them is they are a nursery habitat for lots of different species. All of their prop roots create wonderful microhabitats, and that was used for fishing and still is to some extent today, but traditionally you would set up your net at high tide around the mangrove roots, and so that when the small fish are coming back out, you catch them. People would also use mangroves to protect their shorelines as well, because all of those big roots, they help slow down the movement of the water. We'll see a lot of sediment that gets trapped within their roots, and it helps build up land. And in some areas, you'll even accrete land, like, build up more land than there was in the past. And so we've seen time and again places that have intact mangroves fare better in storms or even tsunami waves.
Talk to me about the design of this living shoreline.
The design along the shoreline is basically building it out with local rock, not much concrete involved. You can see, lots of erosion is happening continually. And so that's the goal, is to reduce that erosion, build it out, and create a better slope so that when the little waves are washing up, they're breaking more on those dynamic revetment rocks versus getting up to where the sediment is.
Do you have a timeline for when this living shoreline might be built?
Hopefully we'll be building in March 2025, pending the bid and the start process. We'll also have an interpretive sign put up probably on the wall of the stone wall of the overlook over there, just to explain to the community in English and Samoan the importance of allowing natural shorelines to be maintained where you can, and explaining that overall a living shoreline typically will do better and cost much less than a built concrete seawall. So I'm really excited about being able to put in the territory's first living shoreline and hopefully smooth the pathway to opening that as a pathway for other areas, because it's so important for us to be able to retain not just the ecosystem integrity, but also the food source. And I'm also really excited to try and help maintain this park for future generations, because the kids love it, and we've seen the impacts of erosion on a day-to-day basis. As sea level has continued to increase, of course, we've seen 10 inches since 2009. Even though it is not a high wave, high energy environment here, as you can see, these day-to-day small wavelets driven by wind and sometimes swell events that propagate in, you'll see you lose a rock here, you lose a rock there, and on really high tide events, it's even more dramatic.
Why is sea level rise in American Samoa happening so quickly?
Yeah, so there was 2 enormous earthquakes that caused the September 2009 tsunami, and the way the plates are readjusting on Earth, unfortunately, it's moving downward, and so we have been subsiding. Post-seismic subsidence is what I learned it's called, and that has been about 7 inches of our total 10 inches of relative sea level rise since that tsunami in 2009.
And that's happening here on the island of Tutuila?
Absolutely, and in Aunuu, and we are finding out what's happening in Manua because we were able to put in tide gauges out there. We know it's also affecting independent Samoa as well.
And that's something that maybe other places in the Pacific or places on the continents are not dealing with, in addition to regular sea level rise.
Right, some places are uplifting still, some places are subsiding, but the general life cycle of a volcanic island, of course, is rising to a point where it's reached its peak. It's going to start subsiding normally, which for us was 1 to 2 millimeters a year, but then because of those earthquakes, it jumped way up to about 16 millimeters a year. You can see how tried to shore up the erosion with some extra rocks and cement as it's gotten scoured out. They had this conduit that was clearly underground, right, when they built it, and that was only 2 years ago.
The University of Hawaii's Sea Grant College program focused on Hawaii's coasts and its communities through sustainable development, safe seafood supply, sustainable coastal tourism, hazard resilience, and healthy coastal ecosystems. Hawaii's Sea Grant.
You're watching Voice of the Sea. We're in American Samoa talking about community-based marine protected areas, where a village establishes its own rules about fishing, enabling villages to better protect their resources and manage for abundance. We visit 3 villages and talk to members of the Department of Marine and Wildlife Resources about how the program works. We start off talking with Program Manager Dimery Ulberg.
I work for our Department of Marine and Wildlife Resources here in American Samoa for our ASG government. We have the community-based fisheries management program. It's one of our programs in our fisheries division. We set up marine protected areas in the villages, and this is a co-management approach between the government, our government department, and the villages that we have, our fishing communities. We have 3 villages right now. The village that we're in is Whangaalu, and then we have Whangasa, and then Sailele.
The villages still maintain control of their village land, but also the nearshore waters that are attached to the village.
Yes.
So how do you work together with the village to protect those areas?
Yeah, we work together on them in developing the bylaws, coming up with management measures within the marine protected area. And this can come down to like certain years of closure, gear restrictions, what kind of gears that we allow in the MPA, what kind of gears that we're not supposed to be, using for fishing.
Can you tell me where we are here today?
So here in Whangaalu, we're here at Whangaalu. It's one of the sites that we have in our CFMP program, our community-based fisheries management program. The Whangaalu signed the agreement with us back in July 2022. With the case of Whangaalu, with the management measures that we set up is around gear restrictions. We also had temporary closures and spatial closures. So the temporary closures where we have time managed closures where we close it down for a certain period of time. Setting up the MPAs, working together with the communities, we ensure sustainable management, of their fisheries resources and ensuring food security for the future, for our future generations. So having that in place will just give you a promising future for the village, for food security, and it's taking care of our marine resources.
Where are we right now?
We are in the beautiful village of Whangasa, the very, very prideful village. And they're also a marine protected area village, so they're under the CFMP program.
What kind of work do you do here or as part of the project?
Exchanging the knowledge. So we come with our scientific knowledge, the village comes with their traditional knowledge, and then that's where we meet each other. We also try not to stick just to the biological and scientific side, but also to the historical side. Because there might be some species that are here that were never there before. Not a lot of people understand the science talk. So we try to turn our educational material into a way where all ages can comprehend and intake it well. Anyone watching, if you want to hop on our website, you can find our educational material on there, or just follow us on our Facebook page or Instagram page to keep you updated with all of our educational materials. We just recently put up a pololo flyer, like a recipe of how to cook pololo because it's so seasonal. So it's like our caviar here.
This is Sailele, which is in the Community-Based Fisheries Management, or MPA program, that we have here in American Samoa under the Department of Marine and Wildlife Resources.
Can you tell me about this marine protected area in particular?
When it was established, the village actually decided to cut it in half. The first half that we passed through, that's actually open. But then this half that we are at is closed at the moment.
Are they planning to keep the same side closed and the same side open, or are they at any point going to swap the sides?
So that's the whole idea, is just to swap sides. So as one side increases in diversity and fish numbers, fish stocks, the other can grow as soon as they switch.
And how do you monitor the health of the protected area over time?
So we get in the water and we just pull a tape along the reef, and then we take notes on the fish abundance, the fish density and diversity, and also take pictures of the reef that we take back and use our fancy computers to figure out how well the reef is doing.
What are some of the things that came up at the village meeting, or some of the things that you discuss as you're setting up a marine protected area?
A lot of questions were how long, how far is the village marine protected area covered, how wide does it have to be, different logistics that they want. And we keep telling them it's totally up to you. It's up to the village how long they want it open, how long they want it closed, which area of the village, and what other specific rules that you want implemented in their village management plan.
For Sailele, what are some of the specific rules that they have put in place?
So, to put in simpler terms, all of them. So they said, so of course, once a village is under the Marine Protected Areas program, you obviously can't fish, you obviously can't take anything out, even no sand mining, or even, of course, very common sense-wise, can't put anything hazardous in the ocean. So all of those are protected under the Marine Protected Areas program. American Samoa is a fishing community. Some of the most common ways that people fish here in American Samoa are rod and reel, netting, and also traditionally using the lau, or the coconut palm fronds. And we also do spearfishing, gleaning. A lot of the women here in American Samoa love to glean. Yeah, so they would just wait for low tide and walk around the reef and just pick everything that they want to eat.
That is what gleaning is.
Yes, gleaning is just basically harvesting of things off the reef.
What kind of things?
So my personal favorite is limu. I love limu. So every time my aunties would go out, I would know they would come back with some. So limu, alili, fe'e, so all those good stuff that they like. But Naomi mentioned it is pololo season, and no matter how much you pay me, I will not eat pololo at all. Yeah, my mom eats it raw, and I cannot do that. Sailele has a very high wave action. A seawall hasn't been put in because this is a really nice beach front, and a lot of people from other villages come here to swim and to just admire the beauty. Villages like this village, Sailele, it's right here outside their house. Like they can just walk out and then just catch fish and then cook it for dinner, instead of having to find a car or asking a neighbor for a car to go to the store and buy fish.
We are looking for a few heroes, mentors, trailblazers, innovators, a passion to change lives, spark curiosity, open hearts, and awaken minds, help students answer the question, who am I? This could be your calling, but this is no job. It's the journey of a lifetime. Be a hero. Be a teacher.
You're watching Voice of the Sea. We're in American Samoa talking about the health of local fisheries. We talk to a paramount chief, but first we hear from Fatima Sawafea from Awa Village.
We're here in American Samoa, Tutuila Island, in the village of Awa.
What changes have you seen in your lifetime?
Oh, there's so many changes. I'll start with the environment. I think as you can see here, this is our Awa Bay. It's one of the reef areas where I grew up seeing a lot of the people in my village. 30 years ago, my grandfather and my grandmother and even people within my family used to fish, do the traditional harvesting of the akule, that's the big eye scad, invertebrates as well. And there were plenty on the table for people to consume, to feed the neighbors, and even to give to pastors within the village. Unfortunately, these days is a lot different. A lot different because I don't see that. I don't see the people fishing a lot. People are making decisions to build things that it will help protect people, homes, and what they have on land. But sometimes I feel that we forget what's within our water, our oceans. I think it's really important to value what we have in our marine environment. We need to understand better what are our traditional values and what sort of traditional management measures that we could integrate with the science and bridge that knowledge together, traditional knowledge and science, and allow science to provide guidance when integrating it with traditional knowledge, because that will help with management, not only for short term, but long term.
When you hope for the future, what would you like to see here in Aua?
Yeah, well, first as a mother, I would really like my kids to learn about fish, invertebrates, whatever is in the marine environment, the habitats, by actually swim and look at it, instead of reading it from a book. In 10, 20 years, I really like to see our reefs thrive, more protection, better management, and that all comes from having more knowledgeable community that are very aware, and they also value the resources that they so depend on. I believe that if you build one champion or one village as a champion, that village could expand that awareness and appreciation throughout other communities by sharing their story, by storytelling, and sharing a picture of what they see, how resources can thrive and become more resilient. Not just people be more resilient, but the resources as well.
We need to protect our shorelines, we need to protect our ocean, we need to protect how we fish. I grew up in Pago Pago Harbor. This is quite a while ago, you know. I'm 77 years old now. But around 1950, 1960, you were able to get clams, and we call asi, and we were able to dive and spear fish. But right now, it's been over 40 years, close to 50 years. We can't do it no more because when the canneries came in, and things just got worse and worse. Now we don't do no more fishing inside the harbor because a lot of contaminations and stuff. We'd like to see our younger generation carry on our old fishing way, traditional way with our forefather. The Samoan way of this, if you catch a lot of fish, the first fish goes to the whaiwheau, to the man of God. Second fish goes to the high chief, the matai. And if you have some small fish left, yeah, that's for you and your kids at them. But you got to give all that fish away to the village to share. That's the way Samoan are, and that's the way we always been. And we share like that. We share our custom, we share our tradition, and we share our knowledge, and we all work for the betterment of our people. And we know that these customs that were our forefathers, it's like a seed. They planted in all of our hearts. It's all up to all of us to make sure that that seed continue to grow from generation to generation and pass on to our children. And they can carry on, and they can enjoy also the peace that we have. And then when it's all said and done, then we give God the glory.
Healthy natural coastlines create healthy fisheries and healthy communities. You can learn more about living shorelines and community-based fisheries management programs on our website at voiceofthesea.org. Follow us on social media at Voice of the Sea TV. Mahalo for watching Voice of the Sea. Exploring Our Fluid Earth is the dynamic curriculum developed by the University of Hawaii's Curriculum Research and Development Group. The award-winning Fluid Earth and Living Ocean textbooks are now interactive and online. New activities, updated content, and a teacher community. Exploring Our Fluid Earth is now freely available. Find out more at exploringourfluidearth.org.